What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. All right, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. We have Tropical Storm Otis approaching Mexico and expected to strengthen into a hurricane before making landfall. Over there, we have Hurricane Tammy that has been deepening this morning. Pressure's down to 987 millibars as a 75-mile-per-hour hurricane. And we are looking at more potential tropical development somewhere in the Caribbean Sea. I've been talking with Weather Center Rosario and Weather Girl Danny about all this, so we can really get you up to speed about what's going on. So that's what we have happening with the satellite. If we go ahead and show you that, this is Hurricane Tammy as of right there. Still showing signs of organization and all that. However, it's still quite sheared as we look at it. We have Tropical Depression 21 that has made landfall in Nicaragua and is currently bringing very heavy rainfall to Central America in that section over here. And then we have Tropical Storm Otis that is rapidly organizing and rapidly strengthening as it's getting closer and closer to the Mexican coast over here. So stuff we need to keep an eye on. We'll start with Otis since this is the biggest threat to land as of right now. Here's the situation. Maximum sustained winds are at 70 miles per hour, and the minimum central pressure is at 993 millibars. Its current location is 14.8 degrees north and 99.1 degrees west, and is moving north-northwest at 8 miles per hour. Here's what we have with the public advisory for other stuff. Tropical storm force winds only extend out 60 miles from the center, so this is a very small tropical system at this current point in time. Maximum sustained winds, once again, 70 miles per hour. Otis is expected to strengthen into a hurricane later today and continuing strengthening until it reaches the coastline. Rapid weakening is likely after landfall, no surprise. Water is what fuels hurricane. Lands does not do that. So that's what we have. Hurricane warnings are in effect for parts of the Mexican coast. Over here, we can go ahead and show you the cone as it is right now. Here's the situation. Hurricane warnings are now in effect. Tropical storm warnings are in effect further down to the southeast over here, and we'll have to pay attention to it. Here's the discussion we have. And intensity forecast is expected to make landfall in the next 24 hours as a 90-mile-per-hour Category 1 hurricane as it starts approaching and really starts to really show that organization and development. Hurricane hunters are on their way right now to investigate Tropical Storm Otis as it's moving through and getting closer and closer, inching closer and closer, rather, to the Mexican coast. Conditions are expected to begin later this evening, so everyone needs to pay attention to that as time continues to go on. Satellite imagery indicates that Otis continues to become better organized. There is some very cold-topped convection in the central dense overcast surrounded by a number of convected banding features. Upper-level outflow is well-defined over most of the circulation. Subject Dvorak intensity estimates range from 55 knots or 65 miles per hour to 65 knots or 75 miles per hour, which would make that hurricane strength. And the current intensity estimate is set at 60 knots for this advisory. An Air Force Reserve Unit Hurricane Hunter aircraft is scheduled to investigate Otis this afternoon. It is currently on the way right now, which could provide a good estimate of the intensity of this tropical cyclone. And this is the important stuff right here. I usually don't read much further into this, but I wanted to go ahead and go over some of the stuff that they're looking at with the conditions and all that. Sea surface temperatures are very warm, around 30 degrees Celsius or 86 degrees Fahrenheit for those of you who live in the United States, and the low to mid-level humidities are fairly high. There is weak to moderate south to southeasterly shear over the system, which is located on the western periphery of the upper tropospheric anticyclone. Steady strengthening seems likely until Otis makes landfall in the next day or so. Based on current trends, the official forecast is above most of the model guidance. The rapid intensification indices show a greater than normal probability of this, so some further upward adjustments on the intensity forecast are possible later today. So this is what we have going on with Otis, and it still has about 24 hours, maybe a little bit less before it makes landfall. So this thing definitely has a lot of room left to go before it ends up there, and a lot of room to grow and intensify as time continues to go on. That is Tropical Storm Otis. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about briefly Hurricane Tammy. Over here, currently pressure of 987 millibars, as we were talking about earlier. 75-mile-per-hour hurricane, located at 24.2 degrees north and 62.3 degrees west. The movement is at 8 miles per hour, similar to that of Otis. So this is the 11 a.m. advisory as of the time of recording this video. Hurricane Tammy holds steady while moving northeastward over the southwestern Atlantic. Hurricane force winds extend out 25 miles from the center, no surprise. And tropical storm force winds extend outward 140 miles from the center. Once again, not that much of a surprise over here. Here's the discussion we have. Expected to get up to an 85-mile-per-hour hurricane in the next 24 hours before starting to gradually weaken and become post and extratropical. Intensity guidance continues to suggest Tammy should slightly strengthen in the near term. As the hurricane approaches the mid-latitude trough, it should enter a region of divergence and thus strengthen. After a day or so, deep layer vertical shear and cooling sea surface temps will gradually weaken the cyclone. So that's what we have with Hurricane Tammy. Here is the cone. It is expected to be making impacts on Bermuda as a post-tropical cyclone as the shear continues to tear it apart. So that's the situation we have going on with Hurricane Tammy. But meanwhile, the NHC hasn't exactly tagged this yet. But Weather Center Nazario and Weather Girl Danny have been keeping an eye on a potential tropical development going on in the Caribbean Sea. And this is where we're going to pivot our video to and kind of talk about a little bit for the next few minutes. So here's what we have with the models. We're going to start with the European model and then go down the road, just give you a better understanding of what we're thinking. Here's the situation as of right now. Otis is making landfall in Mexico. Tammy is kind of meandering out in the Atlantic Ocean. However, about 5 days out, starting about the 29th, is where I would pay attention to. And the European is picking up on a potential low pressure system over here. Keep in mind, there's not exactly that many operational models from the European that are really forecasting something big to happen. But some ensembles have been pretty interesting to take a look at. If we go ahead and show you the European ensembles as of right now, we can go ahead and show you the ensemble member main sea level pressure. All right, here we can go ahead and pull that up. Starting around the 29th, and even earlier than that, you start seeing a bunch of ensembles start firing up and showing potential scenarios of tropical development happening in the Caribbean Sea. So this is definitely something to pay attention to, especially after October 31st, where we could see a potential November system. Keep in mind that's about 8 days out, so I would take that with a grain of salt at this current point. But still not out of the question that this could happen according to the European ensembles. So that's the European model. Next model we're going to go ahead and show you is the CMC, because the latest model just came out, and this will be an interesting situation to see how this whole thing plays out. Tammy's being Tammy and approaching Bermuda. That's not really that much news right there. However, starting on the 29th, I would want to pay attention to the Caribbean Sea over here. And the CMC is forecasting some potential development in the Caribbean as it starts showing signs of organization and development and kind of just meanders around there according to the 12Z. So we'll have to pay attention to it. But the 0Z really caught my interest a little bit because starting around October 29th, increased convective activity, especially in this part of the Caribbean Sea near the Dominican Republic and Haiti. And if we go ahead and show you the Canadian ensembles right here, actually, never mind, did not mean to pull that part up. We'll go ahead and hold just 1 second. We'll go ahead and get back to this, and we'll go ahead and get to the main sea level pressure stuff right here. This is what we have from the CMC. This is actually what we had going into October 27th and October 28th. The CMC is far more probable, and they're far more certain that this thing is likely going to happen and potentially get pretty strong. And based on the fact that this whole thing starts about, heck, not even 3 days out, is making me wonder if the NHC is going to look at this and maybe potentially tag an area of interest, since there is some thunderstorm and activity and convection going on over in this part of the Caribbean Sea. So definitely something to pay attention to as time continues to go on. And by the time it does impact land, where the earliest scenario has this impacting land about 5 days out. So this is definitely something to watch if you're in Jamaica, if you're in Central America, again, if you're in any of the greater Antilles. So definitely stuff to pay attention to as time continues to progress. I know I keep saying that like a broken record, but hey, it really is. It's really stuff you guys need to pay attention to. Next thing we're showing you is the GFS. GFS model's been pretty interesting. Here's what we have of the latest of showing signs of organization and development. Just basically Tammy being Tammy again. And then the GFS is picking up on some stuff going on out here in the Atlantic, in the Caribbean Sea. Maybe a couple of low pressure systems and potential chances of development as time continues to go on. However, the GFS isn't really picking up on this on the operational. If we go ahead and pull up the ensemble members right here, they are definitely showing some scenarios of this happening, and this is as of right now, like what? This is 5 days out from the 0Z. If we go ahead and show you the 12Z model, and similar stuff is happening. We're about 5 days out from that. So definitely some interesting situations starting to pull up here as time continues to go on. Here's the GFS. That's the GFS run at this current point in time. Next model we're going to go ahead and show you once we get back to it is the not the CMC, but the NavGem model. NavGem's been a very interesting model, to say at the very least. Has it been the most accurate? No. But has it been relatively consistent? Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and show you that. Here's the NavGem model at this current point in time. So the NavGem around the October 29th is showing signs of organization, maybe some signs of development in the Caribbean Sea. There is definitely the convective flare going on over there, especially in the Western Caribbean. So this is stuff that, again, we'll have to pay attention to, but for now, it's just something to keep an eye on. Nothing has really come of it just yet. NHC hasn't even tagged this as an area of interest. Last model we're showing you is the Icon. Icon run has been pretty interesting, to say at the very least. The Icon model is showing some signs of organization and development in the Caribbean Sea, a lot more than some of the other models have been predicting, and then it's expected to make landfall in Jamaica as a tropical storm, and then towards Cuba as a tropical storm as well. So that's all the models that we have for you guys, and before we go, we do have a really big announcement that we want to go over with you. I did a poll yesterday, and it seems that a lot of you guys really want me to cover other stuff going on around the world, like other tropical cyclones, especially the Indian Ocean cyclone season, the typhoon season going on in the Western Pacific, as well as other stuff that's going on around the world, such as near Australia and in the Oceania area as well. So as such, I am here to announce that because you guys are asking for it, Pat's Path Predictor is going to start covering things around the world. So there are going to be some episodes, especially in November, that we're going to be covering things in other countries. We're going to be covering stuff in other basins of the world, other oceans. So if you guys want to stay tuned for that, be sure to hit the subscribe button, turn those notifications on, and be sure to like the video so I have your full support on this. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and close the video out here. Wait. Patrick, you forgot the most important stuff. Are you going to abandon the U.S.? You've been doing this for 2 years. You've been covering the U.S. for 2 years. Are you going to abandon that? No, we are not going to abandon that. We're just shifting gears a little bit since November in the United States isn't the most active weather-wise. We're not gonna completely abandon you guys in the U.S. or anywhere in the Atlantic. We're just going to expand our horizons a little bit. That's all we're doing. And with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.